Now, our moderator today is from Spectrum News 13, anchor Greg Angel. He's no stranger to Orlando or to Tiger Bay. While he's been with Spectrum News for 6 years, Greg has been reporting on Florida politics since 2010. Greg has covered local, state, and national campaigns, including every Florida gubernatorial and presidential election for the past 16 years. He has earned numerous accolades for his work, including the Suncoast Emmys. Please welcome our moderator, Greg Angel.
Good afternoon. Everybody doing well? Ready for a good day? Ready for a good conversation? As most of y'all know, it is no easy feat to run for office, to put yourself out there, but a lot of y'all choose to do it because you care to serve. But serving also means answering the questions of the community and Tiger Bay members. So without further ado, we're going to begin in just a moment. I do want to let everyone know, I'll speak a little quickly because clock is ticking. We will have introductions, and each candidate on stage will have 1 minute for opening remarks. We will have a period of questions that I will give the candidates. They'll have 1 minute to respond. If their name is invoked, they'll have 30 seconds to respond. If they try to talk over, Dan down here will take care of business for them. We will have an opportunity for audience Q&A briefly at the end, and then each candidate will be given an opportunity for closing remarks. So at this time, we would like to welcome to the stage, as we have a conversation about Orange County Commission District 1, Nicole Wilson and Austin Arthur. As she's coming up on stage here, the incumbent in this race, Nicole Wilson, is a licensed attorney and resident of Central Florida for more than 20 years. Nicole has focused work and volunteer opportunities on improving the environment, welfare of animals, and public education. Nicole, I'd like to invite you to give a 1 minute opening statement.
Thank you so much, and thank you for this opportunity. It's been the honor of my life to have been able to serve in these last 3.5 years. And I want to tell you in that time, my priorities were transparency, walkable, bikeable communities, and providing quality of life investments for all of us. And I'm proud to say we've done those things. Over 4,000 constituent cases closed, over 300 community meetings, over 50 engagements per year of different types, including helmet fittings and what have you. And what all that tells you is I'm doing a good job and I deserve to be rehired. So please vote Nicole Wilson, and see you on Tuesday.
Also looking for your vote is Austin Arthur, a former firefighter paramedic. He is an entrepreneur and community advocate. Austin's founder of Gymnastics USA, the state's largest gymnastics center, and runs Stars and Stripes marketing services, and has also served on a variety of community organization boards. 1 minute.
Well, thank you. That was half of what I was going to say. So Austin Arthur, guys, happy to be here. I live in downtown Winter Garden with my wife and 3 kids in our golf cart, and we love that lifestyle. As he mentioned, we opened some businesses after being a firefighter paramedic. I like to tell people the important story because it's kind of indicative of my life. I told my dad I wanted to be an entrepreneur. He told me, stop being a bum. It's not a job. Go get a real job. And that's why I became a firefighter paramedic, loved it, and the businesses took off. And then I started to just get involved in the community. I serve on 12 community boards, Habitat for Humanity, Challenge 22 to End Veteran Suicide, and many other different initiatives. And that's when I started to get involved in this journey of mine. I started to get involved in local government and just felt that we needed a little bit of a change, some community-driven leadership. And that's why I'm here, and I'm grateful to be here with you all. Thank you.
And we will get into that. For those who don't know, District 1 covers parts of western Orange County, Dr. Phillips, Gotha, Oakland, Winter Garden, Horizon West, Hunters Creek, just to name a few. One thing, as you guys appear at many different locations, a lot of voters see you all like this. They meet you in the mailbox. So let's talk about some of these. Austin, in your campaign, you say you want to, quote, bring back common sense and community-driven leadership. You said in one of these mailers that you've never run for public office, but, quote, saw we needed a commissioner who will show up and meet with all people, even if they have opposing views. So my question for you? Why this race? Why now? And how exactly do you see Orange County is lacking common sense and community-driven leadership?
Well, I think that the issue is common sense, and what I mean by that is it's important. It's not enough to sit from the dais and philosophize about solutions. You got to be boots on the ground. You got to be with the community, and you got to be working in partnerships with people to get things done. We've got an infrastructure crisis in West Orange County. If you've been in Horizon West, you've been there for a long time, even if you're just cutting through because the traffic is ridiculous. There's failing roads, and there's a lot of solutions on the table, including funded solutions. But we need to work in partnership to get those done. So we got to work with staff so that the west side of the county also gets prioritized. And you do that by sitting down with people, being nice to them, not giving them surprises from the dais and trying to embarrass people. So that's what we're doing in West Orange County. We're a community-driven community already, and so we just need leadership that reflects that.
Nicole, you've spoken quite a bit too about your outreach with the community, meeting with various stakeholders. In your political mailers, you also repeatedly emphasize that you are a commissioner who answers to the people and not special interests. You go on to specifically call out holding developers accountable for their impact on our communities. How exactly are you holding developers accountable, and why is that a benefit to Orange County?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that I take my community meetings very seriously, and everybody and anybody, regardless of their income, regardless of their education level, they all get my attention, my full attention when I meet with them. And so, hearing that I don't meet with specific people isn't true, but everyone gets the same opportunity. And that type of equal treatment was really important. I would say that my, gosh, I don't even remember the second part of what that question was.
So he's saying that you don't do enough community outreach.
Oh my goodness, 300 plus community meetings. So every time anybody with a development plan comes forward, we ask, even if it's something that doesn't required, for them to go out and meet with the community. And at that point, it gives us a launching pad to find out what the community concerns are, and then go back and negotiate both with staff and with that developer, and sometimes with the community, the surrounding community, to make the best of the situation. And that does take that collaborative effort, and those things don't happen overnight, but they're happening.
Let me follow up and ask you this. In July, Orlando Sentinel published an article focused on this race, and they highlighted at the time that Austin having raised more than $200,000 for the campaign. Nicole, you were quoted in Stephen Hudak's story as saying, quote, "I think his cash advantage tells us he owes a lot of people a lot of favors." What is your greatest concern about Austin winning this election?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure. This is something that if you sit in this seat, you have to come with your integrity, your ethics. You have to be, my allegiance is to the people. I was hired by the people. I put my actual career on hold for this last 3.5, 4 years. I'm planning on doing it again for the next 4 years. I understand that I would make more money in the private sector, but my choice right now is to serve my community and do that with a clear mind, evaluate every case that comes before me as a case that could impact people who don't have a voice in that room. And so that's what I mean by that. It's important for everybody to have equal playing ground when they come before the commission.
And Austin, you get the full minute for a response, but you're accused of setting up a lot of favors. To that, you say what?
I don't know about favors. I know that our biggest donor block is actually retired people, so maybe I owe the retirement community a lot of favors, and I'm okay with that. I love retired people. But this idea that I'm funded by developers, I know that they were saying online to the tune of $300,000. We haven't even raised that much money, and developers is probably the smallest part of it. But the reason why some developers do want to support this campaign is because they've really struggled with projects in West Orange County, and not the kind of struggle that's good for residents, the kind of struggle that's good for residents outside of our district. Because what they have to do is they have to go shop their votes and work with the other commissioners, make sure that they have some kind of agreements there and get things done. And that's why you've seen for 4 years wonderful improvements. We've got some commissioners in this room that do a wonderful job meeting with everybody and getting things done for their districts. And in our district, we get a lot of development done, but not a lot of infrastructure improvements, and that's the critical issue. So I'm proud of all of my donations. We've got a lot of donations. Hundreds of different people have donated. People that have never donated to a campaign in their life are donating to this campaign, and the reason is because people are hungry for change.
Something that you both speak about quite a bit is development. We know Orange County is rapidly growing. Condensing a couple topics here for the sake of time, because we've got annexation, split oak forest, future development. So in the best way of consolidating the question, and Austin, I'll start with you. How exactly do we develop for the future while also preserving the resources that we have, the woodlands and the like, without paving over paradise?
Yeah, it's a very important question. For 5 years now, I've been talking about overdevelopment. I did the podcast for the West Orange Observer, and I used to talk about this issue, how we don't need to become the city of Orlando in West Orange County. City of Orlando is wonderful. I love it here. It's beautiful. But it's not West Orange County. We have a unique situation over there. So the way you do it is you work in partnership with people. You build coalitions. I'm happy to be endorsed by every single mayor in West Orange County that has gotten involved in this campaign in an endorsement. Every single commissioner in West Orange County that has gotten involved in this campaign has endorsed our campaign. So it takes partnerships. That's how you get things done. You know, to be a leader, it takes building a coalition. To be an activist, it's a whole different thing. We don't need activism in the commission. We need leadership.
And Nicole, for you, you talk about wanting to develop and to grow in a smart way. How exactly do you define growing Orange County in a smart way?
Well, we have to follow our governing documents, right? It's not about backroom meetings and, phone calls on the sly. It's about actually having governing documents that lay out a plan, a comprehensive plan, and a code that allows for growth that makes the most sense. What we know people want and what we're working towards, and we have been working towards, is a walkable, bikeable community. And that means that people who are young and don't have a driver's license, or people who are elderly and need transportation, aren't just stuck somewhere dependent on their car. But those things don't just happen by taking care of one thing at a time. They require good comprehensive planning. And that's what we've been doing. There have been a lot of updates over the last 3.5 years, but really looking towards a comprehensive plan that incentivizes infill, redevelopment, and adaptive reuse is the way that we can sustain into the future.
I want to ask y'all here, and Nicole, you have a little bit of a lead on this, but the Orange County Commission is asking voters to consider a couple of items, including annexation. Should the county have veto power when cities want to come in and annex land, as we've been seeing? I'm going to offer just a 30-second rebuttal for both of you. Where do you stand on these amendment items that the county commission wants voters to weigh in on, as it directly impacts growth in land?
Yeah, thank you. I think the important piece of that question was have voters weigh in on. This is a decision that should be made in your polling place based on what your thoughts are about annexation. What we know is in the last 3.5 years, through really a lot of work, a lot of research, our Environmental Protection Division has put forth a wetland code revision, a tree ordinance, and other protective things that will keep us from flooding into the future, that will keep our air clean and our water clean. But those things, there's no EPD at some of our municipalities or any of them. And then those things we have the expertise to help with. So what the annexation charter amendment does is actually provides an avenue for if there is an annexation, for us to work closely together on that regulatory scheme so that we're not dealing with the same problems we were dealing with after Ian. And I believe that the voters will decide, and same thing with the rural boundary. There hasn't been enough tools in the toolbox for our citizens to understand and navigate the growth patterns in our county.
Austin?
So I'm totally against the annexation amendment, and because it's going to fail, it's going to go to a lawsuit, just like the other two amendments that were pushed by activists. For example, rent control was a disaster. You pushed that through, and then what happens? We were already told that it's going to be put into a lawsuit. It was put into a lawsuit, so 100% some people's rates went up. So this is what happens when you don't think and you don't have common sense and you don't have steady leadership. You do things that are hasty and the people suffer. And the same thing that happened with the rights to clean water. That was thrown out too. So this is going to happen. We already know this is going to happen. And what else is going to happen? A tsunami of annexations are going to happen in the next 4 months. Watch it.
And we'll see how voters weigh in if it's ultimately on the ballot there. I want to pivot here. Another critical issue we know, affordable housing, transportation as well. You meet people, Pine Hills, Paramore, other areas. They work at the theme parks. It can take them over 2 hours one way just to get to work. And they will tell you why they see the need for robust, accessible public transportation between Lynx and Sunrail. They ask, why is Sunrail not at Orlando International Airport already? Why is it not here? Why is it not there? We know that voters this November will not be asked about a 1 penny sales tax initiative. Perhaps that will come up in 2 years. Austin, beginning with you, because it is something we could see in 2 years again, the county commission at that point. Where's your position on a 1 penny sales tax combined with the need to keep public transportation as it is, or do you see a need to transform it, and how so?
Yeah, it's very clear we need a new revenue stream to help with our transportation crisis in Orange County. That is an understatement. So I think that the conversation will come up. I'd like to see it come up right away. Right after this election, I think is the time to discuss it. You have 2 years to discuss it again, make changes. On the west side, however, multimodal is not the answer today. It's maybe the answer tomorrow. And I think we need to start on multimodal now because I believe in it. Universal is doing great things with multimodal, with the Sunshine Corridor, bringing these private partnership relationships in so that they bring land and dollars. That's the key answer. But right now, we do need road improvements in West Orange County. Sorry, it's so hard with such a quick time.
Yeah, no, I was going to say this could be its own debate because I think as somebody who really believes in infrastructure investment, it was difficult for me to vote no on that measure going to the ballot. But the reason why was because there wasn't enough designated for true alternatives looking into the future and understanding the needs that haven't been met. We already have agreements all over West Orange County with developers who pay in to proportionate share. Those things and the way they're laid out are part of contractual agreements, and the transportation sales tax would not have helped us in that situation. So I'm not going to put my hand out as somebody who feels like people are struggling every day for their dollars to continue to pile up money that isn't going to help their actual transit and transportation. And multimodal transportation is today. It is your bike, it is your feet, it is a bus, it could be anything that we do that doesn't require you to get behind a wheel and sit there in traffic for 30 minutes. And it's the only way that we're going to be able to continue to grow and do it in a sustainable fashion is to look for alternatives for transportation and transit.
Nicole, let's talk about another item in which you voted no on. And just a heads up, I'm getting the countdown here, so I've got time for one more question and then audience Q&A, if anybody wants to try to win the tiger there. Going back to the mailers here, critics have said this has been anything but a clean campaign. Austin, your campaign posted on social media earlier this week accusing Wilson's campaign of creating fake social media accounts using your name and likeness to, you say, post offensive content. There's a mailer accusing Wilson of voting to increase taxes while giving herself a pay raise. It is worth noting here that while the commissioner did vote to increase commissioner pay, $91,000 to $113,000, Wilson did not vote in favor of that. And there's also Orlando Sentinel graphic on the mailer referencing raising taxes for the first time in 17 years. It references the first county fire and EMS property tax increase in 17 years, which will include more resources, 167 more firefighters, 4 new fire stations. All of that said,
I need 5 minutes for each of those.
well, here's my question for each of you. What would you say is the one issue or point you believe the other candidate is not reflecting your position in a fair way or in context? And Austin, I'll begin with you.
Yeah, the idea that I'm bought and paid for by developers, it's so asinine. We are the only candidate on the ballot by petition. That is 800 actual residents who are not developers, they're human beings, that asked the government to put my name on the ballot without having to pay for a fee. We're very proud of that. We're very happy the fact that I've spent over 5 years in not-for-profits, 12 of them. We are a community-driven campaign. The people are energized. We have 500 different volunteers out there every day. Unfortunately, their signs did just get smashed up, and they spend hundreds of man-hours on that and thousands of dollars from donations.
Nicole, what's the one position you feel like that his campaign is painting unfairly?
Honestly, he's got enough money. There's a postcard every single day in my neighbors' mailboxes. Some of them are really frightening because what they've done is they've attributed criminal behavior to me. And quite frankly, I don't have the time or bandwidth to address it right now, but it is slander per se to use my face and my name and my likeness on something that factually is not me. And so I will continue to do my job every single day, serving the people of this community, but understand something. I do not go low. I had one mailer. You've got that mailer. And what I try to tell people is I've done the job. I've done the work. I'm doing it with honesty and integrity and ethics. But if you don't have policy to speak of, you will start slinging mud. If you don't have mud to sling, you'll find somebody else's mud to sling. And that's what we've had here. It is so disheartening that my house was vandalized. I've been threatened, but you know what I didn't do? I didn't blame my opponent. I wouldn't do that because I know that's not him. I know that being in a public space and a public character is very difficult, and we will be open to criticism, but I don't blame somebody else for that.
And with that, we will open it up. We have a couple moments for a couple of questions. I'll give you 30 seconds.
All right, so I never accused the commissioner of doing anything illegal. That's totally untrue. You could scour my Facebook. What you will find on my Facebook, look up my tag, you will find all these accusations that I abandoned my child, that my wife has infidelity, and I've asked the commissioner to denounce it. So she could denounce it for the first time ever, right now in front of everybody. Thousands of dollars, by the way, are being spent in attack ads with her name on it, saying, vote for Nicole. It's totally illegal. She hasn't reported, she hasn't denounced it. So I'll yield my time for her to denounce it for the first time right now.
I have very much always denounced any aggressive, illegal, or illicit activity, deceitful activity. I will continue to denounce it. I've done it on Facebook. One of the two of us spends a lot more time on
That was for
Facebook
the
than
Trump
the other.
assassination.
But let me
Nobody knows
explain,
it.
but let me explain something right now. There is something that happens when you step out and become a public figure and you serve the public. You are open to public criticism. I cannot police Facebook for you. And I think it's very sad that you have made it something that is not part of this campaign in order to try to divert the topic, which is policy driven.
And that's why it's so important that conversations like this take place face to face there. Brittany is running the audience Q&A. Do we have any questions? Brittany's running to the back.
You
Wait,
said,
I'm
Just heads up, questions from audience for Tiger Bay members. Tiger Bay members only.
Non-family members.
Again, it's $425 if you'd like to join.
I love that brief commercial message. My dues are paid. You both brought up growth in different fashions. There's several of us in this room that are prolific cyclists. We love West Orange County. We'd love to see bike lanes in West Orange County. Tell me what each of you are doing or would like to do in order to advance bike lanes for safe bicycle travel. I think, as you may know, Florida ranks at the top of bicycle and pedestrian deaths in the country. We want to kind of slow that curve down a little bit. So if you could speak to that, that would be great.
So Nicole, we'll begin with you.
Oh, you're speaking my language. Yes, 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 yes. Investment in our trails connections, protected bike lanes. We all know a paint stripe doesn't protect you. And we're not going to be able to get people who really do want to use biking, not just as recreation, but transportation, to do it until they feel safe. So I finally this year got approval for my first protected bike lane. I know Eric Grimmer's over there nodding because we have worked really, really hard to try to show through evidence-based research that that does help alleviate traffic, that if we have a protected bike lane, it will alleviate traffic, and we're going to continue to do that. $100 million went into our accelerated transportation safety plan. Those are all safety projects. Those are sidewalk completions. Those are crosswalk restripings in order for all of our users to have a safer, more accessible way to get around on their bikes or feet.
Austin?
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is a great thing because there's lots of areas, including this one, where the commissioner and I totally agree. So there's no disagreement in the prioritization of these sort of things. The Chamber of Commerce is big on this in West Orange County. They have a bike deal. I think Stina actually started it, a big thing for bikes. So we're a big bike community in West Orange, but you're right, we need more of it. So I'm looking forward to working in partnership with our local elected officials to get more of it done with the chamber, with the state, with the federal government, get the grants coming to the west side. So I look forward to working with you on that.
And breaking news, they said they agreed. Brittany, one more audience question right up here, up front. And for Austin, we'll let you answer the first question here.
Good afternoon. My name is Dottie Lynn. I just received from Commissioner Nicole Wilson on my phone saying that Austin Arthur has taken over 100 donations from developers and businesses, will not protect the road's boundary, bankrolled by development money. Is that true?
Did you just get that right when you were sitting here? How did you do that?
Yeah, I can show you when I just got it.
I think can you read the
All right.
disclaimer on it? Because I don't think that.
Should I answer first? I could tell you the disclaimer. So this is what is not being said, is that there are thousands of dollars that are also being spent, not illegally, but legitimately, partisan dollars, and we know that happens on both sides. But we also know that the candidate, has a little bit of say in that. We know that that happens. So this is the continuous trope that I get about development and that I'm in the pockets with developers, and it's a complete characterization of who I am and what I am. So anybody could call me anytime, 407-305-2052 to get the facts.
It was sent by the Orange County Democratic Committee.
Sam, bad boy.
Sam back there.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and I think it's an important thing for people to understand, A, where the messages are coming from, B, that people are allowed to support their candidate or not, and that C, that if it doesn't have a disclaimer, then, it should, or potentially, then report it, right? But zoom in there and make sure you understand. We all have interests in this room, right? There are interests, and that's okay. Until Citizens United is struck down, there's going to be a lot more of those coming. But I will tell you that the important piece of this is to actually do the homework on what is being done, what has been done, what that record looks like, and my resume is just better. I'm more suited for the job.
And with that, closing remarks, Austin, I'll begin with you. 1 minute for final pitch to attendees.
Well, I'm excited for Tuesday. We've had a great election. We've had thousands of people engaged, and I'm looking forward to a new West Orange County, one that works together, boots on the ground, meets with anybody. Grimmer will tell you I meet with anybody. It doesn't matter if we agree or disagree. I love people, and that's just what I do. So there's so much that we could get done in partnership and working together and building a coalition to do it. So you could go to voteaustinarthur.com. That's voteaustinarthur.com. Thank you, Mayor, for all your hard work. He's in my district, so I'm continuing to try to procure that vote. So God bless you all. Congresswoman, you too. You know what to do in that booth. Nobody knows. God bless you. Thank you.
And Nicole Wilson, 1 minute for closing remarks.
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you, Mr. Arthur, for always being a great, we should maybe go on the road with this little side. It has been a ride, and I do think that we are now in the home stretch, and I want to thank you for the honor of serving. I want to finish this job. We get 2 terms. I get 4 more years. There are too many really important things at stake, and those things include our quality of life investments, our nature, our environment, and our businesses and our commerce. And I really feel like every single day I get up, I go to work, and I spend every minute I have dedicated to serving the people of Orange County. I am a qualified candidate that wants to do this for the 2nd term and then step back to my comfortable life. So please, please, please make sure that you get out and vote by Tuesday if you haven't already, and please encourage your friends and neighbors. Early voting is still going on. And thank you. Vote Nicole Wilson.
Nicole Wilson and Austin Arthur, candidates for Orange County Commission, District 1. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Austin. Thank you. All right, now we are going to focus on Orange County Commission District 3. This is right down the middle of Orange County. It includes the western half of Orlando International Airport, all of Orlando Executive Airport, AvGeek, I got to throw that out there. Communities including Pine Castle, Edgewood, Belle Isle, Conway, Azalea Park, to name a few. So Mayra Uribe will welcome up to the stage. Linda Stewart will welcome up to the stage. And Gus Martinez will welcome up to the stage. First elected in 2018, Mayra Uribe represents District 3 right now, where she was born and raised. A business owner, Mayra serves on various boards in the community. Former aide to then U.S. Senator Bill Nelson. She was also co-host of a sports radio show on ESPN 580 Orlando. Welcome. We'll begin with a 1-minute introduction.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mayra Uribe. I'm the current county commissioner for District 3, elected in 2018. And I'm pretty much known for being a hard worker who shows up to the job prepared and expects efficiency, transparency, and cut wasteful spending. Most recently, I was appointed by DOT Secretary to the 2055 Transportation Steering Committee and approved by the governor, where we are setting forward the plan for transportation for the entire state of Florida, and I'm honored to represent Central Florida. I believe government needs to be more business efficient and streamline our land use permit, because time is money, folks. And I believe that you can be pro-environmental without being anti-development. I'm known for being a fighter, and ladies and gentlemen, that's the kind of county commissioner I am. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Linda Stewart coming into the race after serving in the Florida State Senate since 2016 and representing the district area for one term in the Florida House of Representatives, previously serving on the Orange County Commission. Linda Stewart, 1 minute.
Thank you for that introduction. And yes, I had served for 8 years in the county commission, 2 years in the House, and I'm finishing up 8 years in the Senate. So I have a broad amount of experience dealing with the local level and recently the state level. And I got $50 million brought to Central Florida. And I had to work across the aisle for all of that money. And it's something I'm very proud of. And I also got 8 bills passed. It just is real important that we respect one another and that we know that we don't always agree, but there's so many things that we can agree on, and there's just so many things that we need to do the same thing if you sit on the dais at the Board of County Commission.
And we have Gus Martinez, a New York City native. Gus and his family has lived in Central Florida since the early 2000s. An experienced information technology professional. Gus is also heavily involved in volunteer work at a prominent Spanish-speaking church and throughout the community. Gus, welcome. 1 minute.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you all for having me here. I am the father of 5 young men, all law-abiding citizens, and a brand new granddaddy. My grandboy was born 3 months ago, so I'm very proud of that. I have been serving the community first through my church starting back in 2007. In 2010, I started a nonprofit dedicated to helping the homeless and the poor. And that ventured out to helping young teens become independent. I have done a lot in the community. I have gained a lot of experiences in different areas, including the Orange County Commission on Aging, which I served on for 5 years. I'm here to serve the people. Not the special interests, not the money. I'm here because of each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Diving right in, all 3 of you talk about wanting to be fiscal hawks of sorts, to watch where and how our leaders are spending our tax dollars. And we know for Orange County Commission, there's a lot of different needs in the community and needs that need dollars. So I want to start with something here that we spoke about with the last panel. Orange County Commissioners, again, raising the fire and EMS property tax rate for the first time in 17 years. $70 million for 167 new firefighters, 4 new fire stations. Commissioner Uribe, I want to begin with you because you were the lone no vote on this item. And you did tell my colleague Jeff Allen in July that you were only given a day to decide on the increase and there wasn't enough community outreach. Now, critics have said that either you're against hiring more firefighters or you're just posturing to say that you're saving taxpayer money knowing there were enough votes to pass anyway. So can you explain do you still stand by your no vote on increasing the fire and EMS property tax rate? Where exactly do you stand for critics who kind of call out your vote?
Okay, absolutely. That is a great question. Where do I stand on the MSTU increase of 0.6%, ladies and gentlemen? From 0.2 to 0.8. Over 26% increase on all of your homeowner bills without data to support it. I simply asked, why haven't we had community input on this? We have meetings on everything, and you guys have watched, from bunnies to puppies to rent control. But when it came to increasing everyone's tax, $150 for $250 in value, there was no community input or knowledge. Most residents aren't even aware. There are a lot of money, but I asked the chief one thing. Tell me what's labor, what's capital. He said, I didn't have that information. You don't make decisions on that kind of money without the data to support it. And I continue to be a no. I support our firefighters. We have plenty of money. There's a thing called bonding that Orange County needs to do, and we do regularly. And we've just got to be more efficient. And now is not the time to raise more on the residents that live in Orange County.
So you still stand by not hiring 167 more firefighters?
We can still hire firefighters without increasing taxes. We continue to hire firefighters every year without increasing the tax in 17 years.
Just want to make sure you have a chance to be crystal clear. Linda Stewart, where do you stand? Would you have voted yes or no on this?
I would have voted yes, and I'll tell you why. We have huge amounts of expansion of the Orange County Commission have expanded. We have a large development now in Lake Nona. It's now an ideal place to go and visit. They need firefighters, they need fire stations, they need upgraded equipment. And in order to do that, in order to pay for that, I was supportive of that measure that the mayor had put forward, and I think with a lot of thought, and so I would have voted yes.
Gus?
Unfortunately, I'm not a person to make a decision overnight. I want to weigh the pros and cons to every decision I make. And I think that the commissioners were in a bad spot there. But I also believe that our first responders need to be taken care of. And you know, we've raised people's fees all across the board for less. I think I probably would have been forced to vote yes on this simply because our first responders need to be taken care of. And I think we still do need to do better for them as well.
Let me ask about another scope of funding here. One would be hard pressed to find a county that brings in more tourism dollars than Orange County does. Tourist development tax dollars, certainly a big focal point. You know, we're talking over $300 million a year coming into Orange County just from TDT. We'll get into a couple of these items here, but let's start with Visit Orlando and the $100+ million they receive. As state senator, Linda, you pushed legislation drafted by a lobbying firm that was also representing Orange County that would have limited the commission's ability to cut Visit Orlando's funding. Commissioner Emily Bonilla at the time said publicly that she felt like this was a sense of betrayal. Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings ended the contract. So I want to begin with you by giving you an opportunity to explain yourself for those who believe you were acting on behalf of special interests as opposed to the best interest of county constituents.
Thank you, and I am very thrilled to try to answer this question for the 15th time that the Sentinel refuses to print.
Roll the cameras. Let's hear it.
When I was in Tallahassee, there was rumors going around that the Visit Orlando was going to get cut or could get cut 50%. That was unheard of. I was opposed to that. So I wrote a bill so that it would be a reasonable bill that would not allow that much to be cut. And what happened was the Orange County has a lobbyist, and I asked that lobbyist if he would look at my bill. It was my bill, not his. Lobbyists can't put a bill in. And so I asked the lobbyist, do you think this is fair, what I wrote in here? Okay, he's not the only one I asked, just so you know. I asked Dana Young with Visit Florida. I asked the lobbyist for Visit Florida the same question on the same language that was in the bill. Now, it wasn't going anywhere to begin with because I filed it the last day. It was a messaging bill. Don't do that high of a cut to Visit Orlando. Tourism is our #1 industry, and we need them to promote and bring visitors here to Central Florida, particularly international, and it's not cheap.
Okay. We could probably park on this conversation alone for an hour and a half. Mayra, in the course of these conversations about TDT, cash, which projects should get funded, Visit Orlando funding, you did question why so much funding was going to Visit Orlando. Again, $100 million plus with TDT funding. So what is your perspective on what adequate funding for Visit Orlando is?
Well, that's what's great, because you shouldn't listen to rumors, because it was never 50%, it was 2%. And secondly, I really wanted an audit, because when 40% of your money is spent on administrative fees, nobody would run a business like that, okay? You just look at the numbers. This agency 7 years ago was dependent on themselves at 78%, 78% on the county, 22% on themselves, and now they're at 5% on themselves and 95% of the county. And the numbers just didn't add up. So I said, let's get an audit. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That audit came out last week. And guess what? Uncollected fees of over $1.3 million. $60 million of we don't know where they spend it. Lobbying in Tallahassee against the rules. Transparency, efficiency, and cut wasteful spending is #1. $35 million sitting in the bank, that's not how you run government. That's not how you get the trust of the community. And when you look at what they use, on any given day, we have 500,000 people living here, visiting here. They contribute 0 to our infrastructure, to our water, to our law enforcement, and we need to be cognizant of that. And it's why I have opponents, and it's why it's being funded by dark money. And hopefully you have one of those 8 pieces that have come out on me.
We'll get to that. Gus, you say you want to ensure elected officials provide accountability. She was just talking about Phil Diamond's office doing this audit. How exactly would you ensure that TDT tax dollars are properly being spent, accounted for?
Well, for one thing, I wouldn't have waited 5 years to do an audit. This was an agreement that was made. It had terms to that agreement. I am very good with my task management. I would have simply put that on my Outlook calendar as a repeating task monthly and followed up every month. We wouldn't have gotten to 5 years.
It was actually, the audit was 4 years ago, and they had violations then, and then they haven't even completed that. So you should look at it. They had an audit in 2019.
Let's look at it. Sure.
It doesn't come on all the time. I understand that, but again, there were terms implemented, and it was somebody's job to police those terms and keep them honest. People are going to do whatever you allow them to do.
So, in line with this, there's also been the argument, well, TDT dollars can only be spent for defined specific areas. Orange County, again, $359 million in the 22-23 fiscal year. Same pace for fiscal year here. Tourism's going, that's good. $900 million in spending, $500 million to expand Orange County Convention Center, $400 million for Camping World Stadium. Gus, I'll begin with you here. Are these projects going to benefit Orange County in a way where you believe they deserve the TDT dollars that are being spent? Or do you have other ideas?
Absolutely not. I think some of that TDT would have been a better use for Orange County to start developing its own mass transit surface system, as opposed to extending the convention center or putting a dome on it. Our own traffic bus system would actually relieve the disaster traffic whenever we have a sporting event downtown.
Linda, if not these projects, what other projects or initiatives would you have spent TDT money on?
Well, I have, along with Senator Gruder, who happens to be a Republican, we have been pushing for TDT to be spent on film and TV, because it has gone now to Georgia, billions of dollars we have lost. And so I think that is one thing that would help tourism. And so that's one of the things I wanted on there. It is almost impossible to get the state to add things to the statute for spending. So there's a number of things on there already. The environment is one of them, a couple others, but it doesn't extend itself to education. And to what I wanted was tourism for the TV and movie theaters. So I'm for certain increases in certain uses for the TDT, but we have to evaluate how those uses are going to benefit tourism.
Mayra?
I'm very proud that we got $88 million of UCF, okay, for anybody here who's a Knight. First time we've ever done it, because guess what? They're part of the Big 12, and we all know that when people come into town and play a game with UCF, money comes, hotel night stay. Go ask President Cartwright. We also got $15 million for local arts, and this was us pre-knowing we were going to get cut on all of our arts funding at the state level. So we have moved the needle on well-supported projects that benefit people who live in Central Florida. The reality, though, is we need to see some of that funding go to transportation. They're using our roads, they're using our resources, they're using our first responders, but there's zero contribution to it. We all pay property taxes, so we all contribute to that. But we have to have a real discussion. I thought it was modest, 2%. It was not 50%, it was 2%. We had to adjust our budget because we thought it was going to be $345 million were going to come in TDT. Now we found out it's going to be $355 million. At what point do we show that everyone's investing to this pot to improve our transportation process?
All right, just a couple minutes left, but I need to ask more of a political question as opposed to policy. So, Commissioner here, there's a number of different mailers on behalf of both Gus and Linda attacking you almost identical issues about giving yourself a 25% pay raise, things like that. You know, some of the critics have looked at this and says, is this a ghost candidate thing? So Gus, let me begin with you. Are you in this race for yourself or on behalf of anyone else?
I am in this for the people. I was the first one who qualified. Check my bank statements. There's not a ton of money in there. Last I checked, there was $35 left in there. And to further add to that previous statement, Gus Martinez did not have money for a mailer, nor did I have anything to do with it, but I want to thank whoever did for getting my name out there.
And for the record, and this is why it's important to read mailers, so this particular one, Florida Workers Alliance of Cary Forest Parkway in Tallahassee, Florida. So as the prior discussions also pointed out, these mailers not always coming from the candidates or campaigns. Linda, my next question, right in line, why are you in
I want
this?
to talk about the dark money that I'm supposed to have. I have nothing whatsoever to do with those mailings. I would never personally put anything like was out there. They made the commissioner look ugly. I would never do that. I'm against any kind of retribution in that way. But that is not me. That has nothing to do. And I resent the fact that that my opponent is saying I have dark money. I have nothing to do with these mailers, nothing whatsoever. And I don't know, you got to have proof before you have to accuse. So I'd like to know where your proof is.
Great.
Floor is
Well,
yours.
there's actually one piece with your face on it, comparing yourself to me, saying, only thing I've done in 6 years is give myself a raise. So there's a piece with you and me on it that you paid for. You're right,
One
people.
piece.
But she said never. She just
Not
said never.
with that, not
And-
with that third party.
Right.
Never.
The one where I look like I weigh 300 pounds.
I
and
didn't
it's a
like the
distorted
picture
photo.
myself.
Thank you. Thank you. Or the other ones where I'm laying across a bed because it's so deceptive to women holding a cash flow of money.
I didn't like
You're
that one
right.
either.
Tallahassee just loves to help. Tallahassee just loves to help candidates who had stood up to the tourism industry, candidates who wanted accountability, candidates who wanted an audit, and now that things are coming out, and mind you, that's only a partial of the audit. Let's wait and see till the rest of the audit comes back. And it's okay. It's called dirty politics. And some wonderful people who love to just be anti-me have just invested hundreds of thousands of dollars against me. But you know what? I am of the people. I've walked every door in this district. We've walked this whole district once. We're our second time around. This has been about serving Orange County, and this has been about what the expectation of what people want from their commissioner. Efficiency, hard work, showing up for the job prepared, and cut wasteful spending.
And with that, before we get to closing remarks, I'd like to invite Tiger Bay members for questions. All right, we'll borrow one microphone, and we've got a question right up front here.
There's been a lot of discussion about infrastructure, transportation, and I think there's not enough discussion about the bus system. The bus system, you know, our community is one of the least affordable in the country. The bus system needs to be improved. It's constantly discussed. Nothing's ever done about it. And as much as I like biking and walking around, and I've lived in other cities that are more dense and people can actually bike to work, we don't live in that community. We live in a car-centric community, and people need to ride the bus, and the routes need to be fixed. The whole system needs to be fixed. What are you going to do about it?
Mayra, since you're currently on the commission, I'll let you begin.
Yes.
1 minute.
That's exactly the truth. First of all, the fact that we still send buses downtown when nobody who rides a bus downtown, let's be real. People who ride buses ride it because they have to. It's not a choice. You have very little population. We don't need to come downtown. We need to have corridors out east, west, north, and south. I'm so glad when we didn't get the penny tax passed 2 years ago, we worked with Lynx to get actually a lane that goes all the way down Semrad and down to McCoy and Sand Lake to one of probably the most busiest stations, which is the Florida Mall. Yes, we need more practicality of that. We need more funding. You know that. It is a regional scope. I'm glad to be in the leadership of Metro Plan Orlando, and I'm also chair of all the MPOs statewide. Number one thing we're looking for, and the number one thing we fight for, is to get more of those public dollars. And until it becomes more efficient, it's not going to work. And until we can prove it, and I was the one that advocated first to get this train from the airport to the convention center. Over 120,000 people work between iDrive and the airport. We need that efficiency. We need people to be able to get around and want to get on the system. That's the key. We want them to want to get on it, not have to get on it.
Linda, we'll move to you next. Yep.
I'll take hers. It seems to work real well. We absolutely need more than one challenge, and that is not just the buses. We've got to finish connecting Sunrail to the airport and to the convention center, but you have to get people that are out in the community by using the bus system, or even perhaps some other type of vehicle, maybe even going with vans or something, where they can collect up the people, get them to the train station so that they can be on their way. Because why do we need this? It's not just for, our luxury. People need to get to work. So, we can't get to work if you can't get to a Sunrail station, or you can't get to work downtown because you have not enough bus systems. And then again, we're looking at the hours of operation. You have to operate more buses when people need to get to and from work. And I think that it is a great idea to go in there and have a real true look at what where Links is and what we need. And I think if they have more buses, they should be electric. That's just me.
Gus?
Well, this is yours.
Let's make sure it works. Okay. So being from New York, I see that one of the most effective bus systems is the New York bus system. And I think because we are growing at such an alarming rate as a big city, we need to start thinking more towards an effective mass transit system. Most people here probably don't know about the schedules for the bus routes and whatnot, but I know a lot of people out there, and they've lost their job plenty of times because it's ineffective, it's late. People get late a bunch of times, they're going to lose their jobs. We need something more reliable. We need something that's ours, not somebody else's, and we need to make it work.
Have time for one more Tiger Bay member question.
Yeah, I forgot I can't hold the mic. Hi, this is my district, so right after this, I'm going to fill out the only thing on my ballot that has no black ink, which is your race. Ooh. What I would love to know is two things. One, what makes you individually, one thing that makes you different than all other candidates in this race? Two, one thing you respect or admire about the candidates in the race.
And for that one, we will begin with Gus and then move back the other way.
Okay, well, number one, why me? Honesty and integrity can never be questioned. Number two, the commissioner has been out there doing a million different outreaches in the community. I give her props for that. I myself have been out there, held thousands of events, many or most of them which I organized. So I give her props for being out there.
Linda?
Hello. Hello, hello,
I mean, that's one way to silence your challenger,
I swear Dark Money did this. So let me say, we all go through a lot of interviews, don't we? We all have different organizations that want to talk to us and get their opinion, our opinion on what their purpose is. Okay, I have been endorsed by the Rainbow Dems, by the Business Force, by all the Latino possible organizations, by West Orange. I go across the board in my endorsements, in the unions. So I think that people really see who I really am and what I really can do on behalf of them. And I think that's why I'm getting such a great response on the endorsements. And so I can only tell you that I think that we're going to be successful. I think there will be a runoff more than likely, but I think I'll be successful. Thank you.
And second part of the question, something nice about someone else?
Oh, I have to say something. Of course I can say something nice. Wait, that's not fair. Don't stop me. I'm trying to tell.
Dad with the
She has a beautiful family and they love one another.
And there, Thanger. And Mayra.
First of all, thank you for being here and thank you for asking the question. Point blank, I love this community. From the moment I was elected in 2018, I have fought to do everything I can to serve the residents of Orange County. From smart decisions to standing up for the right thing, for giving you opportunities to vote on things that voters deserve to have the right to. But more than anything, being present in my community. On all of my flyers, you have my cell phone number. I welcome you to call me and my email, and it's AOL, so you know I'm old and it's mine. But I've had my phone number since 1998. I've only been married for 22 years, so I'm more committed to that than my husband who's here in the audience. But it's about community, it's about access, and I learned very, very early on, it's about taking care of your constituents first, because you know what, our constituents are our family, and you keep your family happy. As far as my opponents, I applaud them both for running. They want to be in public service. This job is not about self-reliant or being something. This job is about serving and what it should be. And that's why I've done it. That's why I've committed my family. I've sacrificed my time as a mother. I have 2 kids. I have a 7-year-old who's in 2nd grade, and I feel very, very guilty, and I have a daughter in college. But I love this community just as much as I love my family, because you are a part of my family. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. That sounded a lot like a closing remark, but I'll give you another minute. If there's anything else you need to plug, including your website. Yeah, she did. Yes, she did. And, Linda, we'll begin with you. 1 minute closing remarks.
Thank you very much. I have a great deal of experience. I know all of my colleagues that are up in Tallahassee, and should we run into problems here in Central Florida, I will be able to contact them and try to work out some issues that we may have difficulty in. It's very unusual to have someone that has the experience that I have, that have served on the Orange County Board, but has served 8 years with the leadership that's up in Tallahassee. So I feel like I have the most experience, I'm the most successful, and I will not tell a lie.
Gus, if your mic is on, I'll give you 1 minute.
Okay, we needed to bring that other mic back up here. All right, so as a IT professional for 40 plus years, I have mastered task and resource management. I have been boots on the ground since 2010. I'm really in touch with my community. I know the community's needs. I'm bilingual, so I can communicate with twice as many people. And, you know, I've had a history of serving the public, and that's what I'm here to do. I am the best person for this position because I'm never going to double talk you or tell you lies.
And Commissioner, you get the final words.
First of all, I want to thank you all for having us. But more importantly, it's been an honor to serve as a county commissioner for 6 years. I was elected to this position because I worked hard and because I've got reelected the same way in the primary 4 years ago. I'm born and raised in this community. I am a product of this community. I'm an Oak Ridge High School graduate, and I have the pleasure of raising my family in this community. It's about the people. It's about hard work. It's about transparency, cut wasteful spending, and when you're making decisions at the dais, you're thinking about the people you represent. I don't own this seat. I'm just here for a timestamp. I have worked at the federal, the state, and the local level. I'm an entrepreneur. My husband and I have been business owners, so I understand the struggle of what business is and what you want to do to be good business, and that government should be there to help you be more productive as a business. I always tell people, when you vote for me, you get 2.5 because you get my husband, my daughter, and my son, who's only 7. But it's about community, and if anybody who knows us, we're always out together as a community because I'm teaching our next generation what it means to serve in this community. Because, like I said, I'm here for a timestamp, but the next ones that come behind us are going to be our leaders. This is the type of commissioner I am, one that's going to keep fighting for you, for everyone. Thank you so much for having us.
Candidates for Orange County Commission District 3, Commissioner Mayra Uribe, State Senator Linda Stewart, and Gus Martinez. Thank you very much. And we are going to round out the conversation here with the candidates for Orange County Commission District 5 as Kelly Semrad, Steve Leary, and Goff Marcil make their way towards the stage. District 5 is a little interesting because we do not have an incumbent in this race, Emily Bonilla. Not on the ballot. District 5 covering the northwest corner of Orange County, sprawling panhandle portion as well. And this one, like District 1, has some county neighbors. District 5 has Brevard and Seminole counties as neighbors. Communities include Christmas, Bithlo, Alafaya area, Wedgefield, University of Central Florida, Winter Park, parts of downtown Orlando as well, just to name a few. And again, all three here are looking for a 4-year term to replace term limited Commissioner Emily Bonilla. So appreciate all y'all being here with us. Beginning here, closest to my left, Joy Goff Marcil from Maitland City Council to the Florida House of Representatives. Joy hopes to serve next on Orange County Commission. She is a native Central Floridian and a practicing lawyer. Welcome, and we begin with your 1-minute opening statement.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Tiger Bay, for hosting us. My father, Curtis Goff, was a member in the 90s for several years and used to bring me as a guest, and I always enjoyed this organization. My father was also a founding member of the Citrus Club, so I'm having a lot of nostalgia being here today. I'm Joy Goff Marcil. I'm the hometown candidate running for County Commission District 5. I was born and raised in this district, and my husband and I chose to raise our 3 children here, where they went to the same public schools that I attended. I saw that the Maitland City Council was making some decisions that I was not happy with. They were developing in wetlands, and I went on the city council, and I worked for 6 years keeping development out of the wetlands, working with the Maitland City staff, and then moved on to the Florida House, where I promoted local decisions, fought for home rule, and really defended that, and also the environment. Thank you.
And we'll get into that. Kelly Semrad, a professor at University of Central Florida, here in the middle. Kelly is focused on protecting the environment and researching ways to improve quality of life in Central Florida. And her award-winning research is focused on the tourism and hospitality industry as well. Kelly, welcome. 1 minute for your opening remarks.
Thank you very much, everyone. Ooh, sorry. My name is Dr. Kelly Semrad, and I am running for Orange County District 5 Commissioner. I'm grateful to be here today. Thank you, Tiger Bay, for hosting this. I am a tourism expert, internationally recognized. My main focus has been using tourism to help alleviate poverty, as well as conserve natural resources. A long time ago, I was looking into going into an environmental science, and I was told that if you want to learn to save something in the environment, you must learn the value of it. And so I've worked on that across the globe in terms of establishing value to our natural resources, as well as making local tourism economies work for the local people. I see a lot of opportunities here in our local economy, and I see a lot of things that we need to improve in order for it to work for the local people. We have a 75% increase in homelessness, 10,000 school children without a permanent address, and the lowest wages in the nation. I'm here to serve, and I'm ready to work. Thank you.
Thank you. And we also have Steve Leary, former mayor of Winter Park. He spent a decade in public service, overseeing a variety of improvement projects in Winter Park, including the city's electric utilities undergrounding plan to bury lines to protect against service interruptions. We know that, especially with hurricanes. He also owns a manufacturing company. Steve, welcome. 1 minute for your opening remarks.
Great. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Tiger Bay, for having us here this morning, or this afternoon now. I do appreciate the opportunity to be here. I think what we're going to find is my opponents are going to agree with me on many of the issues that are in front of us. So really what sets us apart, and I think what sets me apart is my background, my private sector background and my public sector background. In the public sector, let me go to private first. I own a company. I have a few patents. We produce a product and we ship it all around the world. We produce it here in Orange County in Orlando. On the public side, as mayor, when I sat on the dais for 10 years at the city of Winter Park, we added 55 acres of parkland. We created the St. Andrews Trail. We renovated the golf course, now a top 5 golf course in the country. We also built the library and event center. We created the first urban forestry management plan. We did all those things and dozens of more with help from people like you, help from the private sector, public sector at every level. We also never raised taxes. When I left office, we had the lowest tax rate in all of Orange County. We put 30% of our general fund in reserve, and we had 30% reduction in crime. I can do that at the county commission, and I'd like your support. Thank you.
Speaking of support, so 2 items on November's ballot, annexation and rural boundary. And Joy, I will begin here with you because you spoke about home rule. And as we know with annexation, the question before voters is going to be, can the county commission veto local efforts to annex land? Rural boundary, it goes to the heart of decades of work here in Central Florida to try to preserve the land that we have, split oak forest, things like that. So rural boundary, annexation, how do you plan to vote on that if it's printed on November's ballot?
Thank you for that question. That goes near and dear to my heart because in the Florida House, I was defending the rural boundary in Seminole County, and I think they've done a really good job in Seminole County protecting the rural boundary. So I don't know why we can't do that in Orange County. And yes, I would vote yes. And we need the annexation part of it. So I would also vote yes for that as well.
Kelly?
Thank you. I am the initiator of the rural boundary. I took it to the CRC, our Charter Review Commission, in July 2023. At that point in time, they took it under study. They studied it for 8 months. We got it to the state level, and we were handcuffed by some state legislation where we had to move it to the BCC. It couldn't be approved at the CRC level. We got it to the BCC, but when we were there, it was a single issue. So we had to break it into annexation and rural boundary. So while one of my opponents just said that we'll see that everybody will agree with him, I would like you to know that everybody up here is going to say that they support the rural boundary, and I initiated it. I'm the vice chair of Save Orange County. We fight for sustainable growth. I sued the county for urban sprawl and won in court. We are still fighting an irresponsible growth pattern every day. We have a $22 billion deficit in our infrastructure needs because of how we have grown. We have challenges with the city that would like to annex land in unincorporated Orange County, and it is a problem. Thank you.
And we'll get more into that. Steve, how would you stand on these 2 issues?
Regarding the rural boundary, I support it. I have spoken to folks out on the east side. They're very supportive of it. There are some challenges that are still going on out there. There are people who are concerned that everything they're getting out there now, because of the fear of development that goes out there, all they're getting are tire sales places, another Taco Bell. They're stuck with pharmacies all up and down 50. So there's challenges that we need to deal with out there that are beyond the rural boundary, but I'll be supporting the rural boundary. Regarding annexation, I have a little bit of a mixed view on that, just given my position as a mayor before. One of the challenges, and I think we heard about it before, as you all heard about the exit tax coming out of some of the other states, and it was it's bad behavior, it's bad policy if people are leaving your state to go to another state, and to try to keep them there by taxing them if they exit, I don't think is the right way to do it. I think you work with people and you work with organizations that want to annex out. So I'm going to look into it a little bit more. I have a position yet. I'm probably supporting it right now, but I do need to get back to some of the local mayors to really kind of get their feedback on it. And those relationships I have, and I'll be doing that.
Let's talk about growth and development. You know, we have a lot of woods and natural resources, you know, wetlands and swamps and things like that. And an observation that there always seems to be is we talk about the need for more development. We talk about the need for more affordable housing. But the response from everybody in their community is, we need it, we want it, just not my own backyard. Steve, you've said preservation of rural areas is important and that you are, quote, committed to supporting sustainable land use practices that bring needed infrastructure to residents, both new and old, to improve Orange County residents' overall quality of life. So taking that in mind, thinking we want it, not always in my backyard. Can you explain your approach, how you would balance land preservation with the need for development?
Sure. It sounds like you got one of my mailers. Sure, you talk to the people who are actually considering it. Telling developers that you will not accept their contributions and that they won't get a meeting with you is not the way to get the best minds in development to figure out how to develop. And so you need to be able to have that open door to those people. That said, that doesn't mean they've bought you because they contribute to your campaign or that you have an open door policy to them. That's how you get things done. That's what I've been successful at doing my entire career. You talk to people. So as far as balancing it, there's nobody else up here that's added 55 acres of conservation land to their community. I have. We also dealt with a very challenging affordable housing and workforce housing situation in the city of Winter Park. We more than met our regional need. We were actually taking folks in from other areas to do that, to house them, and so we can do that at the county level too. Density is one of the quick answers to that. Affordable housing, mass transportation. We get we get tied into some of these issues. The main issue that we're not talking about, that is the overarching issue, is growth and public safety. And those are the two things I hope we get to talk about today.
And Kelly, to that point, with the growth, you've mentioned a few different topics in your campaign, but you really focus a lot on environmental impact with development. What do you see is your greatest concern as Orange County continues to grow, needing to build more, and the impact on the environment?
My greatest concern is urban sprawl, because the environmental damage that it does is immense, but it also produces fiscal irresponsibility in terms of how we spend on our resources, both infrastructure and from a natural perspective, our natural resources. It results in crowded schools, increased crime, broken roads. Right now, we're going to see that 70% of our roadways are going to be failing by 2030. So if we're going to build in a smart way, we must say where we end building and where we begin investing into our urban core. I believe in revitalization in areas of where we need to redevelop. I believe in infill projects. I believe that we need to be building smart by mass transit locations where people can get on and get around and not be in a car-dependent culture. We can conserve our natural resources while also improving our infrastructure. And it's time that we must, because we are flooding ourselves out of Florida and raising all of our property insurance in the process. So it is time to build smart while conserving our natural resources. Thank you.
As we talk about the natural resources and development, and again, some of the big needs, affordable housing, Joy, I want to pivot a little bit here. As Kelly mentioned, homelessness, and she cited something that we've known for a few years. Orange County Public Schools a few years ago out with a study showing 10,000 students. They have what, 200,000+ students, 200,000 plus, right? 10,000 students considered homeless. 10,000 students, 10,000 kids don't have a permanent place to call home. Joy, you have talked about some of these issues even in your time, Florida House of Representatives. You said that you saw too many working families being priced out. So what would you do as a commissioner to make Orange County more affordable for families to live here?
That's a great question. Well, we already have some programs in place like Housing for All, and it's not adequately funded. We need to work on that, and we need to continue to work with all of our partners, Coalition of the Homeless, the other organizations, the Catholic charities, to try to get more help to the homeless. And mental health is a huge component of that. More mental health services to get because we know that prevention is huge and key to stopping homeless. We also heard that people are $400 away from losing their house, and that's unacceptable. So we need to continue working private and public partnerships to get that done.
And Steve, again, we're here in a region where a lot of tourism workers, folks that live, dangerous to paycheck, and it's very different. Being honest, folks who live in Winter Park don't have the same lifestyle as folks in Pine Hills and downtown Orlando. And so you have to represent a very diverse group of socioeconomics and perspectives and things like that. So how would you engage your district and the county as a whole and work to make Orange County more affordable?
You need to work together. I mean, I had the pleasure, Mayor Demings nominated me twice to be the chair of the Orange County Council of Mayors because I worked with those other mayors to solve problems and to discuss things. You also need to, as we talk about, you mentioned it before, putting an affordable housing project out in any one of the one of the areas that's very difficult to get through to, and have people try to get through to them on mass transportation back to their jobs, between jobs and housing, to take a 5-mile bus trip, two transfers in 110-degree heat that takes an hour and a half is just not acceptable. We need to start doing some of these things through infill. We have partnerships. Orlando's doing some nice things with some of the hotels, some of the older hotels. There's a great opportunity to work with one another on it, but we can't do that if we continue to insult one another and continue to be a single issue commissioner. We need to work together on the dais.
And Kelly, where do you see your role as a commissioner if you were elected on supporting programs and initiatives that make the burden of paycheck to paycheck lessen for those in Orange County?
Yes. So look, in Central Florida, 1/3 of the people who live here are asset limited, income constrained, yet full-time employed. They will never buy a home here. We are looking at how do we make their cost of living more affordable? Well, we start with getting a local economy that's going to work. The tourism industry pays the lowest wages in the nation. I want to tell you, I am pro-tourism. I am an expert of it, and I sell it on an international platform. It is not working here for us. We need an economy that can work for our locals. We also need to look at, if we look just at the technicalities of affordable housing, the area median income, it's too high. $94,000 is what we look at for the majority of the affordable units. It's too high. We need to lower that, and we need to start talking about workforce housing and looking at using some of our hotel taxes to cover the expense. If they are not going to pay the people what they're worth, then we need to ensure that they can live in the economy that they carry on their backs for all of us. Thank you.
I have just a few moments left. I do want to touch on transportation since that's been a big issue here. It's very likely, perhaps in 2 years, the mayor will come back and continue the effort of trying to get voters to approve a penny sales tax initiative to support transportation needs that the mayor has talked extensively about. And yes, I know the mayor's right there calling you out a little bit, but with that said, you know, Sunrail and Links, and some have questioned if tourism workers are relying on these systems, why isn't Disney or Universal or the tourism folks being held account to chip in a bit more? Mayor Demings and the groups of local cities and counties are going to have to take on Sunrail funding and operations real soon. Where do you stand in the effort of a penny sales tax, or do you have alternative ideas for supporting and funding robust transportation?
Thank you. I was in favor of the penny sales tax because we know that the tourism industry is going to pay for a lot of that. But I do think that in order to get it passed, we're going to need to be more specific about where that money's going, because we don't want to just use it to widen roads more and make it less pedestrian and bike safety as we already have. So yes, I'm for that. And I'm also for looking at the diversifying the funds, as was talked about in the last commission panels, from the tourist tax, because they are using our roads and they're using our transportation. So why wouldn't we dip into that as well?
So Steve, let me pivot the question just a little bit for you then. Let's say it's approved in 2 years. What projects, ideas would you find appropriate use for funding that is raised?
So let me go, if you don't mind, I'll just take one quick step back. There's nobody up here that's better positioned to help get this passed than I am. My connections with the local leaders at the local communities, the reason that they were against it previously was because they didn't feel like they were part of the discussion. There were things that had not been discussed, not been sussed out yet. I will take that on as a personal responsibility because I believe until we have a dedicated funding source, we are not going to have a mass transportation system that works for everybody. And if we don't have one that works for everybody, this will never be the greatest city that we can. They will never be the city that as great as it can be. We need a mass transportation system that works. I used to take it in New York City all the time, buses and subways. I'm committed to that, and I will help get that done. Some of the things that we can improve the lines, we can improve the connection. We have to go multimodal. We have to make sure people can get there. It's also a safety issue. It's not just a matter of getting there. It has to be efficient, it has to be safe, and it has to be economically viable.
Kelly?
Thank you. Oops. Is it good?
Oh, there we go.
Thank you. Well, it's going to go out again. Thank you. Hello. Okay. Could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, talking about the issue, let's say the penny sales tax initiative in 2 years is passed. It'll generate hundreds of millions of dollars. How should that money be spent to improve infrastructure and transportation? And Sunrail get more than wider roads? How should the money be spent?
So first, I would like to just clarify something because Mayor Demings did an excellent job of reaching out to the local municipality leaders as well as the community to engage in the first draft of what that sales tax was, and I participated in a lot of those meetings. And the local leaders were on board with that. What I would like to say is that I will be the first one in line saying I support mass transit. I do not support roadway widening projects. I believe that it has a low return on investment. We put the money into it, we break the road again. I am all for mass transit. I believe 75 million tourists that come here, we can increase that economic footprint by getting them on a mass transit system that improves their experience while they're here, but also enhances the quality of life of the local residents and reduces the cost of living while we're here. Thank you.
And we do have, in just a moment, opportunity for a couple of Tiger Bay member questions, but I want to wrap up here something that a couple of you have mentioned that's very important. Mental health and safety. Mayor may be able to correct me if I'm wrong on this as a former sheriff, but in Florida, in most counties, the largest mental health provider in each county is the jail. That said, what are your ideas as law enforcement that are having to deal with robberies and shootings and car break-ins and mental health and Baker Acts, and they're having to train for the unpredictable. So what is your approach for supporting mental health services while also considering the law enforcement needs? So it's kind of a twofold, mental health and safety. But Steve, I'll begin with you here. How does Orange County properly invest in that co-op of safety and mental health?
No, I'm back. I think, there we go. We have some wonderful community partners, the health facilities through in, is this still working? Yeah, okay, great, thank you. The health facilities, whether it's any of the big health providers, and we have to rely on them. They are community partners, and they will continue to stay involved. We need to continue to increase the funding to this area. Listen, as a father of a child with autism, it terrifies me that someday he could be perceived as being a conflict to law enforcement. And I tried to have a bill passed, and it ended up getting passed. It was watered down a little bit at the state level to try to assist with that. We need to be able to recognize mental health crisis when it appears. That's better training for officers. That's new types of training for officers. When 1 in 36 children is born in this country right now with autism, those are areas that we need to educate and provide that education across the board, not just to law enforcement, not just to hospitals, but to everybody so they understand the signs.
And we'll jump over here to Joy, as you spoke about mental health earlier, but how does the county commission take the approach to the issue of mental health and safety?
One of the bullet points on my walk card is to fund law enforcement officers, including mental health services. I think that's very important because when our first responders go out to a call, a lot of times it's someone who is having a mental health emergency. So we need to make sure that we have mental health professionals working hand in hand with our police officers. I think that would be a huge way to help solve the problem. I know it's probably happening a little bit, but it needs to be happening more, and continuing to develop our partnerships with mental health charities that are already doing this. I shouldn't say charities, professionals who are doing this. I'm married to a psychologist, so I've had to he doesn't tell me what's going on, but I know that his business is doing well.
And I mean, we could be here for days on end talking about just mental health alone, but Kelly, for you, what approach would you support for Orange County to further improve services when it comes to law enforcement, safety, and mental health?
So first, with mental health, as an educator, I know that one of the primary reasons that people begin to struggle with mental health is feeling as though they're not accepted. And they lose a social framework that they lean on and they depend upon. And as an educator, I also know how valuable diversity, equity, inclusion funding is that we lost at the state level. And so I'm looking at opportunities to ensure that we can entwine that into the fabric of what we have here locally and making sure that everybody feels accepted with diversity, equity, inclusion funding for programs, Additionally, I would like to say that poverty is a major cause of mental health problems, mental challenges. Poverty is a major cause of needing increased police force because we begin to see people doing things that they normally would never think of doing. We need to make sure that we fund our municipal services the way that we need to, but we also need to identify that there are other root causes for why people are acting and behaving that they do, and a lot of them relate back to how our local economy is failing us. Thank you.
And with that, we'll open the floor, Brittany, for a couple of Tiger Bay questions. Brittany, heading over here to the left side, and keep an eye on that.
Thank you. My name is Ron Lieberman. I'm in the 7th year of serving on the Florida Housing Finance Corporation Board of Directors. we fund billions of dollars every year toward affordable housing. What I'd like to know is a certain amount, several service workers are those people that live in these residences. So the tourist tax, are you in favor of using some of those dollars to help fund affordable housing?
Joy, let's begin with you. Should we be able to use TDT dollars to build affordable housing?
I think we definitely should. If it has anything to do with tourism, and you're saying that our tourist industry workers are using this housing, I definitely think that, and especially after seeing the news article that came out saying that we have record dollars coming in, we always have to make sure we have the reserves, but right now we're enjoying record dollars, so as long as we keep our reserves up, definitely that would be a good use of the money.
Kelly?
Yes, I think actually that is a fantastic idea, but we do have a legislative issue where we need to make an amendment if we're talking about using tourist development tax money for affordable housing. Hotel impact fees are a different story. What's unique about my candidacy is that I've been endorsed by the majority of the Orange County legislative delegation, and we are all united on the fact that it is time that we look at diversification of those funds and looking at legislative change to ensure that that happens. These individuals, like I said, they make the lowest wages in the whole nation. They need affordable units. They don't make enough they're too poor to qualify for affordable. So we got to make sure that we're starting to build affordable, and we got to make sure that we're starting to build workforce housing. One of the projects I'm involved in is using adaptive reuse zoning for underutilized hotels, that if there is a willing seller, that we can do rapid expedited permitting to get those to being increased transient homes or affordable workforce units. So we need a lot of work in that. And yes, I believe in the diversification of those funds. I'm not saying we rob the tourism industry, but it's a balanced approach, and we need investment in the community. Thank you.
Steve, you said y'all would agree on most of the issues. Is this an issue y'all agree on? Or where do you stand?
Why did I get a B part to the question? No, I think that yes and no, and we are statutorily regulated as to what we could do with it, and the way to get and there is support, and it's not just from one extreme edge of a party. It's if you deal with the moderates from both parties, and I'm very proud of the endorsements I have because they come from basically the full breadth of both parties and private business and individuals in the community. The first thing that needs to happen is to have a discussion with the people that contribute to that fund. And that is what needs to happen. We need to have a roundtable. There are people that are open to it that contribute to that fund, but we need to sit down and have that discussion. We need adults at the table. That's one of the challenges we've had. We have some great folks that are working at the commission. We have some great folks that are working on staff. But until we get people who are willing to have a discussion, an open discussion, give a little bit, take a little bit, we're never going to get anywhere as a community. And I believe that the people that contribute to that TDT funding are willing to have that conversation.
And we have time for one more question from the floor over here, left side of the room, right side of the stage.
Yes, thank you for coming here. Thank you for your answers. And really, it's a question for all the county commissioner candidates, but you guys in particular. Appreciate your answers on multimodal transportation, on affordable housing issues, on low-income wages. But we've been there, done that, and heard that before. Workforce housing, holding our large employers, tourism employers, Disney, Universal accountable. I haven't heard your answers being any different from what's been discussed for decades. I want to hear what's different. What are your ideas going to do for really affordable housing, for that multimodal transportation beyond what's already been said for decades?
And for that one, Steve, we'll begin with you.
Sure. What's different is you have sitting here facing you right now someone who's worked with private industry to get things done in our community. Okay, when we were trying to redo our facility, our collegiate, our track and field complex, I went out and got 4 partners to get that thing done. When it was the golf course, same thing, we went out and we secured private funding to help get that thing done. When we went for the library and event center, I pulled in over $40 million during my tenure from different funds, from different sources outside of the city of Winter Park. You do that through relationships. You don't do that by throwing bombs at people. There are community partners. There are some of the big employers in and around this community. They know it's needed. They have put forth ideas already for that, and I think we need to support those, and we need to cut some red tape and help get those things done because they know their employees need it and they know the community needs it as well.
Kelly, he says, been there, done that. He's heard it before. So how do you tackle it? What's different?
Great question. Thank you. Thank you for the question. First, I'd like to go back to a previous statement about those who contribute to the TDT. It's not those who contribute, you guys. It's our money. It's not private money. It's ours. So talking and conversing with the people who contribute, we contribute with all of the tourists sitting on our roads, using our infrastructure, using our natural resources. Then I would like to address the next question of been there, done that. I am a unique candidate. I'm a tourism expert. I'm also the vice chair of Save Orange County, where we put residents first and the needs of the community when considering development. So I'm not coming at it from a perspective of what can we do today and what have we already done. It hasn't worked. We have to do something that is more innovative. Looking at the projects where we're doing adaptive reuse and revitalizing the communities that matter the most and diversifying our largest asset that is public funds right now that comes from a private industry is our tourist development tax money and hotel taxes. And it's time that we take an expert who has the expertise to do it, and I'm that person. Thank you.
And finally, Joy, 1 minute.
Thank you. I am the candidate that will listen to you. That's how I was elected to Maitland City Council, and I proved that for 6 years, listening to everyone and making well-balanced, reasonable decisions. And then I went to the Florida House and worked on doing that as well. But as some of you may have known, that after 2 years, I became a super minority in the Florida House. So then it was just trying to defend. It was not on the offense. And so now at the county level, I think I can work with the relationships that I've made at the city level and at the state level to convince the lawmakers to stop preempting and making it where we can get more done. Because I think it's important that we work together and not in a hostile environment. Thanks.
And with that, final remarks as folks are getting ready to fill out their ballots if they haven't already. Joy Goff, Marcil, 1 minute for final remarks. You were first to begin last time. Yeah, to begin. Yeah, go ahead. So 1 minute for closing remarks.
Okay. All right, thank you. Again, I am Joy Goff Marcil, running for Orange County District 5. I'm the hometown candidate. I love my community. I worked hard at the city level for 2 terms and in the state level for 2 terms to support my community and work with my constituents. That's my favorite part of being a public servant, is representing and helping my constituents. I've walked to thousands of doors, which I'm going to be doing again today for 3 hours. And I hear from people who just want to be listened to. They want their problems to be solved or at least listened to. And I've done that in every day. I'm still, even when I'm canvassing, I'm letting people know where they can get help for their problems. So I will listen to you. My website is joyforfl.com. Let me know if you have any questions or want to know more about my candidacy. I would love to hear from you and love to have your support and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly Semrad, 1 minute for closing remarks.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Kelly Semrad, and I want to tell you I am the most uniquely qualified for this position out of this panel that's sitting up here. I am an international tourism expert that is recognized around the world. I am a serving tourism ambassador to numerous municipalities around this world. I have done the job to get an improvement into local economies by working together with people and establishing teams that can go in and make a quality of life difference for people living in tourism-dependent economies. I'm also the vice chair of Save Orange County, and we see the pinch on the growth of development of how it's impacting all of our quality of life. Sitting in the traffic, having kids' classrooms that are too crowded, having the fire department too stressed, having OUC talk about increasing rates because they're over capacity on their grid. I'm standing with the residents. I've refused special interest donations, and the reason why is so that people can know I am standing with the people. I am pushing back on special interests. We have a serious problem in our local economy, and I'm fighting for us. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Steve Leary.
Thank you, and thank you again for all for hosting us today. We do appreciate that. As I've stated before, I have a record. Unlike some others in this race, I do have a record. Go back to my record, look at my record. I have increased our into every service into our community. We have done it fiscally responsibly. We have added to our conservation land. We have just done a great job through partnerships too. I have the relationships at different levels to get things done. Some of the situations and the issues that we're talking about, whether it's transportation, the inflow of people, the mass transportation, affordable housing, workforce housing, that's not going to be solved just by this county. That's going to be solved by pulling in partners from the state and the federal level as well. And we need the relationships to make that happen. I have been endorsed, again, across the board, including Mayor Dyer, who has been very generous in his endorsement to me, because I know how to work with people of different parties and different ideologies to get things done for the betterment of our community. I will continue to do that for the people of this county. I have a special interest, and that is my children, and that is your children. I'm trying to build a better future to them, and I will continue to do that. Thank you so much.
And thank you, and thank you. Orange County Commission candidates, District 5, Steve Leary, Kelly Semrad, and Goff Marcil. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And